Hi there, thanks for joining me, Jessie Chahal, on The Nation. Now, the environment and the economy are two sides of the very same coin. And if we cannot sustain the environment, then we cannot sustain ourselves. The bigger question is, who will lead this cause? Who will take charge or champion this cause? Well, I'm excited to say that I have just the lady in the studio with me today. She's a biologist by profession, an environmentalist by passion. The ever-poised Yasmin Rasyid joins me today. She has 20 years of experience and knowledge in environmental management, community development and social responsibility in the nation. She's also the founder of a non-profit NGO called EcoNights. Welcome, Yasmin.
Thanks, Jessie.
You have many titles: environmentalist, pioneer, fixer, leader, volunteer, national influencer, just to name a few. But what is it you do that you've done so well?
Well, I wouldn't say I've done it very well. I'm still learning, but the one title that if I were given a chance to resonate who I am would probably be a mother and a daughter. I think these two titles are very heavy titles, titles that I'm still learning a lot in my daily capacity. So the rest of the titles are important as well, but I see motherhood as the ultimate title and challenge.
But that's also the source of your drive and your passion. You are in an industry or in an area, career path, where you truly are in a form nurturing and helping people find that, that same sense as well. Where has that passion come from?
It stems from growing up in a very small town of Ipoh. I think it's predominantly my grandparents that influenced me a lot. We did a lot of things outdoors. Every weekend, you know, there was only one mall in Ipoh, and it wasn't a really exciting mall. So our weekends are normally spent in a waterfall, in the river, picnicking, and on a typical day in my grandmother's house, I grew up with her. I would always be in the garden, either with a shovel trying to find something or grow something and plucking things off the tree and eating off it. So it was a very, not to say a kampong environment, but it was very simple, basic, and I was always outdoor.
And it became your second nature.
Pretty much. I mean, it took me many years when a lot of people ask me this question, where was my calling and how did it start? And I had to trace back, and I feel today that I'm very confident to say that it's definitely my grandparents, not just in the environment I grew up with, the nature of them being very community-centric. They know almost everyone in the neighborhood, so it was a very safe environment. I could explore my bicycle anywhere in a drain, catching tadpoles, and I'll still be safe. So it was that freedom of being outdoor that really, I guess, elevated my interest.
And what motivated you or inspired you to take that passion and make it a cause to bring about change?
I never really intended it to end up becoming a cause of what I'm championing right now. When I started, it was a job first. I mean, I studied marine biology, and I wanted to contribute to the environmental science community by doing studies, surveys. And then at some point during that time in my career, I realized there was a big disconnection between what people know that's happening to the environment and the people that's supposed to know what's going on. There's a void there, there's a gap there. And I realized that I can't be sitting on one side of the spectrum while the other side of the spectrum are less educated or less aware about the impacts on the environment. And I think that was the time when I took time off. I had my first baby then, and I was thinking, you know, I got to do something where I involve my young baby, and at the same time more on with community. And I think I started very small, giving talks, running workshops, and I started running camps and activities with children, mainly because my daughter would benefit immediately from it, and I could keep her under my watchful eye. And then later on, she became my little ambassador. She was bold and she knew a lot already. So I think over the years, when EcoNights started in 2005, it resonated very well with the public. I'm not saying we're the first NGO that is doing what we're doing. There's so many NGOs there that are really amazing. But maybe it's a stroke of luck. Maybe it's the way we communicate. Maybe it's our target audience, because being a woman, it's hard to reach every single demographic in the country, right? So my mission was, if I can reach out to mothers like me who are passionate to learn about a sustainable lifestyle, try to minimize chemicals at home, that kind of thing. Mothers who resonate with what I as a mother want my children to be growing up. And I said, I've done my job. I mean, I would rather influence a small group of people, but influence them well, than just go out there and, you know, just do a sweeping kind of like activity. So over the last 20 years, it kind of just grew into a little movement.
Has it been difficult being a woman in the driver's seat?
There are some good and bad days. I think we still live in a very stereotypical world. I think, although there are a lot of females, women in this field, but I think there are a lot of real challenges when it comes to dealing with a very patriarchal or male-dominated society.
Which is funny, because the irony of it all, you talk about the environment, you talk about, again, nurture and nature, you talk about being gentle, being understanding. It's all quite feminine qualities.
You're absolutely right. There are many conferences and forums where I'm invited to speak as a speaker in a panel, and very often I'm the only female. And I mean, obviously it's like, this is injustice, but if you think about it, there is something not right with that equation. I think both men and women have its strengths and weaknesses, but many decisions about environment or the way things are being charted out are very much male dominant. And I think, and I hope, there are many young, amazing environmentalists that are female out there. And I really hope that this would be the time to rise to the occasion, if not already, to put a stronger voice out there for women that are in this field.
We speak a lot about sustainability, environment, improvement of sorts, but are we really walking the walk and talking the talk?
We have some of the best policies in the world, if not the country, but I think we fail very short in enforcement and walking the talk. And also monitoring what happens after we have these kind of policies that are out there. But things are changing. I think society in general today is a little bit more environmentally conscious. You note also a lot of these bans on plastics are going on.
Yes.
It's not happening as fast as I like it to be, but it's gradually becoming something that you see more often in the media as
What
well.
would you like to see happen immediately?
Better rivers. Like I said earlier, I grew up having a river as my backyard, clean, and that's where we go and appreciate nature. I hardly find any rivers here that can facilitate that. Just last Saturday, I was at a Sustainable City conference, and my audience were high schoolers. So I did a pop quiz. I said, who went to a river in the last 2 weeks? No one raised their hands. A month, no one raised their hands. In the last 6 months, dead silent. I'm like, oh my God, this is the generation that's going to just rely on pipe water without understanding where the source comes from. And therefore, it's not surprising that a typical child in a house is very nature deficit, very dissociated from the environment. When you have that dissociation, a lot of other social values kind of come crumbling down. Humility, respect, and I guess curiosity as well. Nature offers you so much opportunity to be curious, to look under that leaf, to look under in that soil, to look at how this creature moves. So I think, and if you're a woman listening right now, I think there's a lot we can do at home. Yes, school is a great avenue, but as a woman, as a mother who's raising your children, you must have some values that you think is something you want your kids to carry on. So if it's simple thing like eat healthy, it's good. There's a lot of environmental implications on that, knowing where food comes from, knowing how food is produced, knowing what organic is, knowing how food has traveled. It's got so much environmental implications. Energy, if you want to teach your kids to be energy savers, not wasters, they all refer to adults. If you need to make this change, you also need to reflect on your own changes.
For a long time, perhaps there hasn't been a lot of awareness created around these issues. Do you think Malaysians as a whole are changing as well? Are they adapting?
I think in general, yes. Social media has helped a lot. I think news or issues that are current, whether yesterday a pygmy elephant was murdered or the river turned red, I think news passes on very fast. And it's good because I think it's good for the public to be aware of current issues. It's also good for the authorities in power to act. Because when you have netizens all coming in to state their concerns or to state their opinions about it, someone's got to do something and someone's got to do it fast. So I think actions today are taking faster. The reaction is faster. But I think the danger is the true value of these messages and stories can be diluted because of the kind of diverse news that you have in the media as well. So if you're someone who's really into green movement activities, you would know by now in terms of social media which platform you should belong to, so that you get first-hand information, you can participate, you can take action.
What is the absolute danger that we have in Malaysia? Because we hear these news, like you said, it makes headlines, but then it gets forgotten and it doesn't affect you and me in the city, and we move on. But what really are some of our nation's biggest dangers?
I think the nation's biggest danger is secretly hiding undetected from us, and that's environmental health and human health. This is something I've been passionate about 25 years ago. When you see a river, you just see water. But what's lurking inside are a lot of things that come from land. Chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, you name it. And I think Malaysians today don't realize the impact of negative environment actually is on your health. The haze is a perfect example. My daughter has mild bronchitis. And whenever a haze, a bad one comes, I remember 2004, right? We basically had to take leave, blanket her up and go to a different place, because if she stayed in the city, it will worsen. She was already hospitalized. We didn't want that to happen. And every time we hear of the haze, even she was fearful, because you know, if someone's burning and that produces a haze, her health suffers. So this is someone I see, someone I love, that I see dearly, suffering directly, clearly from irresponsible acts in terms of clearing the palm oil plantation and so on. Water is a critical issue now. I'm not sure if the awareness is there, but a lot of it, whether we have too much vehicles in the city, carbon monoxide, toxic gases from factory, all this come as hidden, invisible poisons inside our body. And unfortunately, there's no direct correlation to say X amount of haze will cause this kind of disease. But cumulatively, I'm not surprised if these are precursors to things like cancer, or bad skin at least,
And so clearly, one person can't bring about all these changes.
No.
It takes all of us to be hand in hand towards this new sustainability and new age living, as we call it. We take a short break. When we come back, I will be discussing more with Yasmin Rasyid right here in the studios. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hi, if you're just joining us, my guest in the studio today is Yasmin Rasyid. She has 20 years of experience and knowledge in environmental management, community development and social responsibility in the nation. She's also the founder of a non-profit NGO called Eco Nights. You've been called fun, fearless and fabulous, but has it always been a pretty picture?
Not really. Come to my house. Fun, I guess pretty much true. Fearless, pretty much, if you're raising two little boisterous girls. Fabulous, only when I'm, in a situation like that. But if you strip me down to the bare Yasmin Rasyid, I'm a very simple person. Definitely not stylish or fabulous at all. So I live by very, very simple rules.
But you have big ambitions, big passion, and big dreams.
Mm-hmm.
What have been some of the highlights in your journey, in your role as a champion of your cause or causes?
I think my highlight is seeing the progression, the evolution of the people that we have reached out to in the last 12 years. Ironically, in my office right now, there are some of these people who basically grew up with us when they were in high school at 14 and 15, and they volunteered with us, and they come back as interns. And my program director started off as a volunteer and now is my program director. So I pride myself in seeing the kind of quality Malaysians that we have groomed in our organization, and I really, really hope, God forbid, that if they ever venture outside Econites and explore their career, there'll be an advantageous point for them from being an Econite. Second thing that I'm recently just achieved, and I'm really relieved, maybe it's premature to say this, is I've just finished writing for my PhD thesis.
Fantastic.
I've just done writing. I've submitted it. So I've still got exams and the actual graduation, but suddenly I've got this free time now because I'm not writing, and I'm really, really soaking in the good vibes right now. So
You're
hoping.
wearing many hats. At the same time, you're also vocal and very open about the reasons you do the things you do, and you speak about them. You speak about them loud and clear, so that all segments, whether it's just women or youth, children, or even some parties, all can hear you and can hear your ideas. You also take that to the floor and share that.
Yeah.
That's an important thing as an activist, as a leader, to share your thoughts and your mind, as well as to get them to buy into that concept.
Yeah, to get them to do that pivotal change, I guess, or actually just realization, and also to give the audience a sense of belonging, a sense of reference. Many Malaysians in general that I've met are very aware, very educated, very informed, but not many have the opportunity to figure out what's the next step to do.
We see you at the TED Talk, the video. How was that experience?
Nerve-wracking.
How did you prepare for something that's such a short duration and you had to pack everything in there?
I wasn't fully prepared when I was giving that talk, but when they asked me to choose a topic, I immediately chose something I was passionate about, rivers. And we mentioned this in the beginning of the show, middle, and now I'm bringing back the rivers issue again. In my last 20 years of environmental work, I think if there's any ecosystem that I always been involved in, it would be rivers. So in that TED Talk, I spoke really, really from my heart. I started off with a picture of my eldest child, who was only 3 then, floating at a waterfall area with no fear, like completely zen with the environment. And I wanted to resonate with the audience that this is how a water body should be, not filled with plastics, not filled with organic waste and so forth. So that TED Talk was also called TED Talk Sungai Segit, which is about a deteriorating river in Johor. It's really bad. So I felt it's appropriate to fit in that topic as well. And I suspect in the next 20 more years, I'll still be talking about rivers.
We hope you do. It's a tall order to bring about change, and of course people need to adapt, and there's resistance to change. What you're trying to do now is bring about an impactful change that will be long-lasting. But have you ever felt discouraged or felt defeated or demotivated?
Yes, it happens sometimes a couple times a day. But I've developed a mechanism where even if I'm angry or if I'm saddened by this or I'm uninspired, demotivated, I'll give myself 5-10 minutes of grief to come to terms with it, and then I move on. And I think that's one thing I've learned to master a lot in the last few years. You cannot just sit there and be demotivated and allow yourself to be demotivated. The world keeps spinning and you've got to keep on moving. So what if there's 1 or 2 roadblocks here and there? And sometimes roadblocks can be opportunities as well next year, not now immediately. So dealing with rejection is very common. This sounds weird, but I think rejection is a very big key learning curve before you achieve any success. So it's disheartening, yeah. Some days I talk about it, some days I don't feel like talking about it, some days I feel like kicking a box.
But you've also at the same time won awards and been recognized
Yeah.
for the good work that you do, and that of course is a great day.
Great if I don't break the trophies. I remember winning one and broke a trophy in 10 minutes. These are good recognitions. I hope they serve as inspirations to the younger generation that trying to find a niche, trying to champion something. Awards come and go, but I think the work that you do, it should be felt. And then that basically, for me personally, it's something more valuable than a plaque or a trophy.
Absolutely. What have been, or rather, what do you think very quickly is lacking in our society? We talk about youth empowerment, women empowerment, we talk about sustainability, we talk about these big words, but from your point of view, where do you think we are, and are we heading in the right direction?
3 words: respect, humility. The third one probably understanding. If you don't respect people or yourself, it's really hard to respect the environment as well. So it really is an internal thing, internal attitude, character. Humility, I can't even begin with humility. I think there's too much ego out there these days, too much of I want to be right, or I want to prove you wrong. I think humility gets you more than what you imagine that word allows. I mean, humility has allowed me to understand communities better. Humility has brought me to places where I can hear the real voices from the ground, and I get to bring this voice and share it with people in power, hoping that there will be a sliver of change. Lastly is understanding. I think this understanding of each another's differences and all that, I think these 3 characteristics is kind of hard to find these days.
Right.
Among the general population. Everyone's too competitive, especially in the city. It's kind of jading, it's a very jaded environment here.
That's right. And finally, Yasmin, what would be your message for Malaysia?
To have a lot of confidence in us all contributing to a very positive nation-building exercise. I think many of us look up to the government to make these changes without realizing that we are part of the government. So before you wake up the next day, see something unjust and complain about who should be responsible, I think it's about time we feel that we are responsible, and therefore we should take our little small actions, even at home or in the office.
That's right.
And that, I think, is something that will change the country sustainably.
You are a beacon of light. You are that change that we talk about so much. Thank you so much for doing the
Thanks
work
for having me.
that you do, and thanks for being on the show today.
Thank
Well, that's
you.
all the time we have. We hope that you found that show interesting. Keep it locked on to Bernama News Channel for more. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.